So we're just looking at our deck real quick and just seeing what's what as far as like our monsters and everything and our spells and traps. The basic idea with this deck is to um, basically overwhelm my opponent with variety. That's the idea. Uh, it usually works more times than not. Oh, I should probably do that. Move courage. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so, what was I saying? Right, so, defeat my opponents with variety. You know, that's the idea here. Um, Basically, I use Scapegoat for protection and for synchro. I use Vampire Familiar to go into my other vampires. I use Glow Up Bloom to go into my level 5 or higher zombie type monsters. I use Vampire Retainer to support my vampires and search for vampire cards. Unizombie is there to help me change the levels of monsters that I face up on the field and for me to search zombies in my deck. Vampire Ghost is there to help me normal summon vampire monsters without tributing. Trap Infecting Virus is there so I can send monsters or spells and traps from my hand to the grave that I need to be in the grave, and then I can also wipe the field of all zombie monsters. And with Algol Nazera, I can protect all of my zombies, and with Zombie World, everything's a zombie. Zombie Master, here so that I can send monsters from my hand to the graveyard, and then if they're level 4, or I can search for level 4 in the graveyard, either graveyard, because Zombie World, and revive it to my side of the field. This also means I can send a copy of Zombie Master, if I was running it, to the graveyard as well. Shuten Doji, I have 2 copies of this. Shuten Doji is there to be my banish protection, because you can't use Necroface in this event, and despite the fact that you can't use Necroface in this event, Shuten Doji is like a light Necroface, in the sense that Shuten Doji can banish zombies from your graveyard to draw 1 card, and the point of that effect is that it has 2 effects. It can banish 2 zombies from the grave to draw 1 card, but it can also target 1 banished zombie and place that target on top of the deck. The idea is to run 2 Shuten Dojis since they are not once per turn, or 3 since they are not once per turn, as far as a hard once per turn. And you essentially send you banish the cards from the graveyard you want to summon, and then, or revive, I guess. It's like a long Monster Reborn. Then you use the other Sutendoji to send that banished card to the top of your deck so that when you draw it next with your first Sutendoji, then you can go ahead and play it. That's essentially the idea. Mizuki is here so that I can revive my zombies. I have 2 of those. Card Guard is there so that I can actually protect my face-up cards. Vampire Sorcerer is there to support my vampires. What did it actually do? I forget. Oh yeah, normal summon without attributing, and I can add as a searcher. Okay, so Gozuki is also a searcher. I can search any zombie in my deck and send it to the grave, and I can special summon 1 zombie from my hand when this is sent to the graveyard by banishing a separate zombie. Necroworld Banshee is a must-have in zombie decks. It's here so that I can support my zombie world, search it from the deck or hand, and I can use it from the deck or hand, and I can protect it while she's on the field. Devouring Sarcophagus, I run 2 of these because it is absolutely underrated as a zombie card. It's very easy to attack into a boss monster that cannot be targeted, and you attack into it with something like a Vendread Savior, use Savior's effect, send Devouring Sarcophagus, then take control of that boss monster with Devouring Sarcophagus' effect, because Sarcophagus does not target. And it does this twice because it can also use this effect from the graveyard by banishing itself. And it works for any zombie monster from the graveyard, but only Devouring Sarcophagus on the field. I have Patrician of Darkness. It's here because forcing my opponent to attack certain cards is really, really good. Vampire Fraulein is here to boost the attack of my zombies by up to 3,000, and she can special summon herself from the hand when a monster declares an attack, and she can special summon any monster she defeats by battle at the end of the battle phase. Vampire Crimson is here to protect all my monsters from destruction in any way, shape, or form by paying 1,000 life points for every monster that would be destroyed. And Vampire Crimson also can revive any monster that it destroys by battle at the end of the battle phase. Vampire Scarlet Scourge is here so that I can special summon vampires from my graveyard when I normally special summon it by paying 1,000 life points, and Vampire Scarlet Scourge also has the unique ability that it can special summon any monster that it destroys by battle at the end of the battle phase. Chain-Chi the Spiridao. Leave me alone about these pronunciations. Chain-Chi the Spiridao is here so that I can also search zombies from my hand or deck and send them to the graveyard, and I can also banish a separate zombie monster to special summon this zombie monster whenever it is banished. Now, the thing about this is I can use something like Doom King, banish Chain-Chi, then when I need to target a zombie in the graveyard to banish the special summon Chain-Chi, I can choose Algol Mazera. The reason being is that when I banish Algol Mazera, it can special summon itself. So the idea is to use Doom King, banish Chain-Chi from the graveyard, then Chain-Chi banish Algol, then both Chain-Chi and Algol special summon themselves, then you use Chain-Chi to send something like Mizuki to the graveyard, then use Mizuki to get something else out of the graveyard you might need, and then go into some Link or Exceeds plays. That's the idea with Chain-Chi in one turn. Vampire Vamp is here so that when it is normal summoned, I can I can turn other monsters that are stronger than her into equip spells that give their attack to her as a bonus attack. This also takes place if another vampire monster is normal summoned while she is on the field. And on top of that, if this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped it with anything, then it can special summon itself. Jack-o'-Bolin is the upgraded version of Pump King, the king of all ghosts, and Jack-o'-Bolin is simply amazing in a zombie deck. He has the ability to special summon himself by sending another zombie to the graveyard, and then on top of that, once per opponent's turn, he can banish himself and then special summon one zombie from my opponent's graveyard, and then return himself to the field at the end of the turn. So, very, very cool card. Definitely great for interrupting plays. I can't tell you how many duels I've won because my opponent will send an important piece to the graveyard that they need to use later, and then right when they send it, before they can activate the effect, I just steal it with Jack-o'-Bolin, and then they quit because their combo's ruined. So definitely a good card to have. Doom King Baladrach is an excellent target for Jack-o'-Bolin to actually send to the graveyard to special summon itself, because Doom King can special summon himself from the graveyard as long as there's a field spell on the field anywhere. This also means that Zombie World is the perfect Doom King Baladrach target as a field spell, because with Zombie World everything turns into a zombie, and with Doom King Baladrach he can negate the effects of one zombie monster after the effect is activated, or he can banish one monster on the field or in either graveyard, and both of these are effects that he can use in response to a zombie monster activating their effect. So, Doom King is excellent for negating things like Ash Blossom or any of the other Zombie Girl cards. Doom King is also great for getting rid of things like Phoenix Enforcer and other cards like that can special summon themselves from the graveyard, because you can't special summon from the graveyard if you're not in the graveyard. So, Doom King is a force to be reckoned with, and because he can special summon himself during the standby phase, it also means that he's great fodder for Link's plays and Xyz plays and all those types of things. He's also an excellent target for my rank 8 Xyz vampires, so there's that as well. Vampire Voivode is an excellent vampire monster. I can negate once per turn the effects of one monster that activates its effect if it has... So basically, let me rephrase this. With Vampire Voivode, if a monster activates its effect and a monster with the same name is in the graveyard, I can negate the effect. And what's cool about this is that it does not have to be in the opponent's graveyard. Just if I have Ash Blossom and... well, that's a bad example. If I have, let's say I have Hella Generated Boss of Doom in my graveyard, and I'm fighting against a Generated Boss deck. With Vampire Voivode, because of how the effect reads, when a monster's effect is activated while a monster with its same name is in the graveyard, a parentheses S. With that parentheses S, that means that if this card is in my graveyard and my opponent activates this effect, I can negate it with Vampire Voivode. This also means that if a monster has to send itself to the graveyard to activate its effect, you can negate the effect then too. What's also cool about Vampire Voivode is that if a monster is special summoned from my opponent's graveyard, I can tribute 2 monsters and special summon this card. And on top of that, if this card is normal summoned, I can target 2 monsters in my opponent's graveyard and special summon them to my field, but their effects are unfortunately negated. But that doesn't matter, because with those 2 monsters, I can then go into my Exceeds Vampire monsters instantly, regardless of what level they are, because Exceeds Vampires don't care about levels except for one, which is done, but that's neither here nor there. So Algol Mazera is a key piece in any zombie deck, or any deck that's using zombie support, because with Algol Mazera, you are fully and completely able to... Hold on 1 second. Okay. Big bets. Messages from important people and stuff. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so where was I? Algol Mazera. So he's an excellent support for any zombie deck or deck that has zombie support, because he can banish himself to protect all or just one of your zombies from destruction. And now, the reason this is so cool is because he can then special summon himself in the banished area and then be on the field. Now, that is only once per turn, but he can do this from the hand or the graveyard, which is pretty nice. And what's also cool is that his effect to special summon himself can be triggered if he is banished. So, like I said before, you can use Algol Mazera to banish him, and then special summon, him again. Like, if you need a monster right away, and Algol Mazera's in your grave, and you have Doom King, banish, got a monster, go into a link play, or even go into an Exceeds play, because both are level 8. So there's that as well. Algol Mazera is an excellent hand trap. Definitely great because it's an Earth zombie type, so definitely escapes those dark attribute things like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror and stuff like that. Hela, Generated Boss of Doom, is a must-have in my opinion in a zombie deck, because she allows you to go about sending any zombie you have from your field to the graveyard to then pluck a separate one from the graveyard and splash it on the field. And this can be done at quick effect speed during either player's turn. And what that means is that oftentimes my opponent will go to attack into me, and they'll attack a certain monster I have, I'll switch it out, and then I'll use the monster's effect or something. There's been times where, I'll see my opponent is playing a certain type of deck, and then I'll be like, you know what, I've been sending zombies to the graveyard this whole time for this very reason. I'm going to go ahead and, go into this tidbit right here and put this guy in the field so I can stop this from happening. So definitely a good card to have. Just can't go without it. Wandering Titan of Tartarus is actually a fairly new zombie monster that I did not know about until last week. And first off, it looks fucking terrifying. It looks like a cross between Cthulhu, Nemesis, and maybe the Swamp Thing, and this other card, the Wicked Worm Beast. Do they have that in here? The Wicked Worm Beast? I don't know. Let me show you if it's in here. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses classic, the Wicked Worm Beast. Wicked. Actually, you know what? Let's try to find it the old-fashioned way. So, the Wicked Worm Beast, I don't know its rarity. I know it's an effect monster. And, is it an effect? I don't know. I think it is. It's an Earth monster. It's level 4. Is it plant type? I can't remember. I want to say it's plant type. Either plant or beast. So plant, where the fuck is beast? Right there. Then level 4. What was his attack value? I don't remember, but we're gonna go with that. Wicked Worm Beast, here we go. No, that's not. This is actually a really good card. It can't be destroyed by battle where you control another monster, and neither player can target face-up spells you control with card effects. Very nice. So, funny thing about Vampire Koala, it used to be called Vampire Koala, but now it's called Vampiric Koala because it does not count as a vampire monster for the vampire archetype. So, I was wondering about that because when the vampire monsters first got added to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, Vampire Koala and Vampire... It's another vampire monster that doesn't count with its vampire archetypes, now it's Vampiric. So, yeah. Now those are looking for Wicked Worm Beast. I used to like this card as a kid. I thought it was so cool. This reminded me of like Dragon Ball Z. Because of the Uzaru, if you didn't know. Donkey. Come here, Donkey. I think it's so funny that the Trojan horse and the condom company Trojan basically followed the condom company Trojan basically followed the the motto of the Trojan horse, which was, you know, a bunch of, you know, little tiny men in like a bunch of men inside of like this structure, and they like penetrate this like base, and then they explode on the inside, and it's like, ah, shit, it's crazy. Do, do, do. Huh. Is Wicked Worm Beast even in here? I don't know. Why did I go on this side tangent? Because I'm bored and tomorrow's my birthday. I'm turning 31. That's a cool card. Ah, it might not be in here, or maybe it's not a beast or a plant type. But anyways, where was I? So, this guy is cool because I'm gonna just read his effect because I'm not used to him. I've never used him in battle because I've never had a chance to. If this card is sent from the, by the way, in case you're wondering, this is Wandering Titan of Tartarus. If this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, send as many cards you control as possible to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon this card, then send cards your opponent controls to the graveyard up to the number sent to the graveyard by this effect. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to this effect's activation. If this card is sent to the graveyard except from the deck, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, send one card from the field to the graveyard. You can only use one Wandering Titan of Tartarus effect per turn and only once per turn. So, the interesting thing about this card for me is that it does not target. And so because it does not target, it is essentially outlets the Golden Lord, but more powerful because it doesn't target. And because I can send it from the deck to the graveyard, you know, to activate this effect, let's see how many cards I have that can send it from the deck to the graveyard. Right. So we got one, technically, because we can add it to our hand and then send it to the graveyard, or special summon it and then send it to the graveyard. Two, because we can just search it with this. Or we can send it from our hand to the graveyard, but that's not what we're looking for to my deck. We have this one right here, Gozuki, can send it from the deck to the graveyard. Chain Shi can send it from the deck to the graveyard. But also, the Zombie Vampire can send it from the deck to the graveyard if it's in the top first 5 cards of the deck when this effect is activated. And lastly, Avenged Savior can also send it from the deck to the graveyard whenever he's involved in battle, the first battle of that turn. So that's a good number of searches that can just send stuff to the graveyard, dude. You know, technically, if you want to be technical, you could say that Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine can also send it to the graveyard, because it can add it to the field and then send it to the graveyard, but not really directly to the graveyard. So, uh, technically, two of these things didn't count, but you get the idea. So, very cool effect. Definitely can wipe the board if you do it right. And with how many cards I can use to place my monsters back on the field, I'm not really too worried about it. Eldritch the Golden Lord is a very powerful zombie card. It's definitely one of the better zombie cards, and a lot of zombie cards are already just better. So, very fun tidbit there. He can send himself and a spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard to target and remove a card from the field without destroying it, just sending it to the graveyard, although it does have to target, which is very sad. But sending to the graveyard bypasses so many bypasses destruction effects, which is really cool. Eldritch can also special summon himself or any other zombie from your hand and give it an extra 1000 attack and defense, and give it the lingering effect. Well, both of those are lingering effects. So it'll have an extra 1000 attack and defense, and it will also be immune to effect destruction for one turn. And I cannot tell you how many people do not understand lingering effects and try to destroy my boosted zombie after I special summon it. It's not going to work. Eldritch is also great for going into your to your rank 10 Exceeds monsters, because he's so easy to get on the field. And then what you can also do is go into your fusion and then bring him back to have extra attack. Harpy's Feather Duster does not need explanation for the most part, but for those of you who don't know, it allows you to destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Elixir, by the way, there's actually a card called Griffin's Wing, and it's one of the few cards whose only purpose is specifically to negate a singular card, and that's Harpy's Feather Duster. Griffin's Wing only negates Harpy's Feather Duster, and I know it's in this game because I used to use it. So we're gonna clear this, and we're gonna look for the word Griffin. Bam, Griffin's Wing. Griffin Wing. Yep. When your opponent activates Harpy's Feather Duster, negate its effect, and if you do, destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Ha! So, anyways, Elixir of Black Awakening can special summon a zombie from my hand or a deck in defense position, but if I control no Eldritch monsters, then it can only special summon Eldritch the Golden Lord, or Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad, if he could somehow be in my hand or deck, but you know, that wouldn't happen. You can also banish this card to set one Golden Land spell or trap directly from your deck, which is really nice as well. It makes it so that Eldritch sending it to the graveyard works out. Zombie World just turns everything into zombies and stops people from tribute summoning, so if you're fighting against Monarchs, Zombie World is the way to fucking go. Call the Mummy is great in a pinch, especially if you have only high-level monsters in your hand. This really works out. Or if you have a monster you can normal summon, you special with this and then normal and then go into a link play or something. Vampire's Domain is great because it makes it so that all the damage you deal with your vampires also turns into life points for you, as if they're actually sucking the very life out of your opponent, and not in that way get your head out of the gutter. So I run two of those. Cursed Eldland is just a searcher for most of my Eldritch cards by paying 800 life points, and it can also search one more time to actually send something from the deck to the graveyard if it is sent to the graveyard. Very cool place. Very cool place. Seven Cities of the Golden Land is the fusion spell for Eldritch, and if a zombie is special summoned, which is every monster if you have Zombie World, then it makes it so that once per turn you can stop a spell or trap from being activated. That's already face down. Haunted Shrine is a little known, underrated trap card for zombies that I don't see anyone ever talk about. It's essentially a double Monster Reborn, and it has saved me and helped me win so many duels. It only works if you don't have any monsters on the field. So, there's that. It does have to target one zombie in the graveyard, but it special summons it. Then, if Haunted Shrine is in the graveyard and you have no monsters on your field, you can banish this card to then special summon a zombie, but it has its effects negated. Now, with a negating effects, Avendred Savior is a special case because even if his effect is negated, uh, there's a difference between the effect and the cost for the effect. So, like in this case, for instance, you can target one Vendread card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. That is a simple effect. If his effects are negated, he just can't do that at all. But the second one, he can still activate half of it, and the half that he activates is the part I want to activate. So here's the scenario, right? Again, same scenario as before, but let's change it up. Blue Eyes White Dragon fighting a Vendread Savior. And Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon fighting a Vendread Savior. And I have the life points for it, and so my effects are negated for a Vendread Savior. So I attack into a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon anyways, and the guy, he's like, Kaiba, he's like, oh, you fool, you're attacking into my Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, while you have a 1600 attack monster whose effects are negated. You can't send a zombie to the graveyard, and you're not going to decrease my life points. My attack. And even if you could, you wouldn't decrease it enough to actually win this fight. So what are you trying to do? And that's when I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that's great, Kaiba. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to attack into you, and I'm going to send Devouring Sarcophagus to the graveyard. Now, when I do that, that is the cost for my effect. And so because that is the cost for my effect, that is not negated. But the effect itself is that I can reduce my opponent's attack for that specific battle by 200 for every level that that zombie monster had that I sent to the graveyard with a Vendread Savior's effect. So, after I send Devouring Sarcophagus, Avenged Savior will get destroyed, and then Sarcophagus will activate. And once Sarcophagus activates, I'll be able to take his Blood's Ultimate Dragon, no difficulty. So, very lovely tidbits right there. Where was I? Right. So, Infinite Impermanence is just a great card to have for negating one monster effect, and also negating spell and trap cards in the same column. Definitely worth having if you feel like you need some really nice negates. Return of the Zombies is excellent because, again, little known, rarely talked about zombie support card. At least I don't hear people talk about it. With this, you can banish one zombie on the field and then special summon one zombie from the graveyard of the player who controlled it. And that's very cool because I might actually run more copies of those, actually. Nah. So, that's, no, not right here. So that's pretty cool. By the way, I believe this is Zombie World. Yes, this is also Zombie World. There's the Tower of Babel, not Babel, fucking hell. Tower, the Solo Living Bone Tower, right there in the upper left-hand corner. There's the train to the underworld right there next to the tower. And, yeah, this is basically just Zombie World in this artwork. So, you can banish one zombie, special summon one zombie from the graveyard of the player who controlled the banished monster. And you can, with this card is in the graveyard, you can return one banished zombie to your deck, and then place this card in the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Now, there is a separate card that's like this, that's called Haunted Zombies, but it banishes one zombie from either graveyard, then special summon two haunted tokens to my field. And it has the same clause about banished zombies and setting it but banishing it when it leaves the field. Now the interesting thing is that if you are running Imperial Iron Wall, then you can continually reuse these cards and never ever actually banish them because banishing will not be allowed with Imperial Iron Wall, making these cards freaking busted if you're running a no banish Haunted Zombies, Return of the Zombies deck. Also Haunted Zombies and Return of the Zombies Well, no, not Imperial Iron Wall. You have to be running Chaos Angel, because no Chaos Hunter, because Chaos Hunter makes it so that your opponent cannot banish anything, and it only singles out your opponent, and that's very cool. Now, where was I? So, oftentimes with Return of the Zombies, I would use it in situations like oftentimes I will wait until my opponent special summons a powerful monster, and while I have Zombie World, I'll banish that powerful monster and then special summon something like Maxi from the graveyard. There has been times where my opponent will go to attack into me, and I only have one monster on the field, and I'll banish it to special summon like some powerful monster or something. I have used it before to banish something to special summon uh, Vampire Scarlet Scourge, and then use Scourge's effect to special summon something like Chain Chi, and then go from there with the Chain Chi combo of Owl Roll and everything else. So definitely pretty cool. Gravedigger's Trap Hole I didn't know about until last year actually, so shame on me. But it's pretty cool. It lets you negate the effect of one card that is I had a whole brain fart, I'm so sorry. When your opponent activates a monster effect in their hand or graveyard, or when your opponent's banished monster effect is activated, negate its effects, and if you do, inflict 2000 damage to your opponent. That's pretty great. It stops things like Ash Blossom. It stops things like Doom King, all those things. It just stops all that. And deals a nice little chunk of damage. Elixir, the Scarlet Sanguine summon, is basically the same thing as this one, but for this it works for the deck or graveyard, so that's that. It can also put a Golden Land spell trap directly from your deck onto the field after you banish it. We already went over 100 zombies, but one more time just to be safe for good measure. And if you get where one more time for good measure comes from, we're friends now. So good on you. Now, banish one zombie monster from either graveyard and special summon 200 tokens. Basically, what I do with this is I'll wait until my opponent sends something to the graveyard that's important, and then just like Jackal Bolin, I'll just snatch it up with this and banish it. So very, very nice. Spell Vanishing is a counter trap card that is exceptionally well. So I can discard two cards from my hand to activate the effect. That's an easy peasy done deal because I have so many cards that want to be in the graveyard. Then I look at my opponent's hand and deck entirely. And then any copies of that spell card also get sent to the graveyard. Very cool. I don't. That's one of the Deck Magicians, I think. I forget who that is. I know who that is. Is that Breaker Warrior or something? I don't remember. But anyways, this has. Oh no, wait, no. No related cards. Okay. Cursed Seal of the Forbidden Spell is another very powerful counter trap card. Uh, this is a trap card that I will use on many one of spell cards, or like field spells, or super important continuous spell, all that are like important pieces for their decks. Essentially, when a spell card is activated, discard one spell, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And if you do that, your opponent cannot activate spell cards with that name for the rest of this duel. Now, the other way, the way that people normally use this card is they'll say, yes, I'm fighting against Runic, and you're activating your Runic Fountain. Well, guess what? Cursed to the Forbidden One. You're not activating jack shit. But what you can also do with Cursed Seal of the Forbidden One is because of how it is worded, you can be fighting, and let's say you activate alarm, sorry. big bets. My boy just added me on Yu-Gi-Oh. There we go. Hey girl, hey Courage. I have a dog. She's a Rottweiler Pit Bull mix. She's like almost 9 years old. Her name is Courage. She's the best doggo in the whole world. Friggin' amazing. I love her to death. Isn't that right, Courage? You're so amazing. I know. You're so cute. She has one white paw. The rest are all like that Rottweiler orange. It's pretty fun. Pretty nice. So, anyways, so what you can do with Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell is because how it's worded, you can activate something like, let's say, Harpy's Feather Duster, then negate your own Harpy's Feather Duster with Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell, and then that'll make it so that you can activate Harpy's Feather Duster again if you want to, but your opponent for the rest of the duel cannot activate Harpy's Feather Duster. So definitely pretty cool way to use Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell. Dark Bribe is another excellent counter trap card. Now it does let your opponent draw one card, but drawing one card is not that bad when you think about the fact that you're also negating and destroying their one of, or saving yourself in a pinch. They can draw one card, but if you save yourself in a pinch and you make or break the duel by negating that spell or trap card, that's it. You know, you've won. And because, fun fact, because these are counter trap cards, the only way to counter a counter trap card is to use a counter trap card or use a card that specifically states that it negates counter trap cards. So that makes counter trap cards some of the most actual trap cards in the game, you know, because there's not a whole bunch you can do against a counter trap card. Like basically, even if your opponent has a monster that says if your opponent activates a card or a trap effect, you can negate the effect and destroy it. Spell Vanishing will say, ha, you can't negate me, you can destroy me, but you can't negate me though. So, Vampire Domination is another counter trap card, so again, can only counter with a counter, or if it says it can negate a counter. And with Vampire Domination, it's essentially just an Omni negate for if I have a vampire monster on the field. But what it also does is if the target that I'm omni negating is a monster, then I gain I gain life points equal to its original attack, which is pretty nice. Imperial Iron Wall is very simple. Neither player can banish cards, so very nice. Tyrant's Temper is great for fighting against like any type of trap heavy deck. So if you're fighting against like Eldritch, Trap Tricks, Paleozoic, uh, um, uh, Labyrinth. You know, you playing against any of those trap heavy decks, you know, you can definitely use Tyrant's Temper, tribute one monster, which is no consequence for zombies, then all face-up monsters on the field that I own are unaffected by all other trap cards. Now you do have to be wary because while using Tyrant's Temper, it also means that your other like X amount of trap cards in this deck will not affect your zombie monsters while they're face up on the field. So keep that in mind. Now these last three cards, these last four cards that are continuous traps, I can afford to run them even though they might screw up my deck because I have Eldritch, and at any time I can just, from the graveyard, get rid of these cards so that I can do what I need to do. See, Eldritch is very intelligent as like when they designed it, because Eldritch is built to go with like trap cards that change the state or change how you play the game. Floodgates. I can't think of the word. So Eldritch is meant to be used with floodgates. So that's why Eldritch has the effect that from the graveyard it can remove one spell or trap on my side of the field to then special summon itself another zombie. That is so that I can get rid of any floodgates I need to get rid of, so that I can use my monsters the way I need to. Now, these last four are pretty cool. Shiranui style Samsara has saved my Tushy so many times. I said Tushy, not Pussy, relax. Now, while this card is face up on the field, if I can banish one face up zombie type monster, and then I take no damage for the rest of this turn, even if this card leaves the field, which is really cool. Then I can target two of my own banished zombie type monsters that have 0 defense, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw one card. And how many zombies do I have that have 0 defense? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12 if it's in the graveyard or on the field. I would say technically Link monsters, but they just don't have any defense points. By the way, this is unrelated to Yu-Gi-Oh, but math time, or I guess math time, I don't know. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh is math, I guess. But the difference between 0 and nothing, right? 0 defense. 0 is a number. Nothing. There is no defense. Anyways, Guardian of the Golden Land is a trap card that's also a monster, and when it's summoned, if I have Eldritch in the field, I can reduce one face-up monster's attack to 0 permanently. And I can also add an Elixir spell or trap directly from my deck onto the field if this card is banished from the graveyard at the end of the turn. And it also has 2,500 defense, making it an absolute unit of a monster that's basically free for like high defense, right? So very nice there too. Conquistador of the Golden Land is another trap monster, but it allows you to destroy one face-up card on the field when it's flipped face-up if I have Eldritch in the field. And again, I can get an Eldritch spell or trap directly from my deck and put it on the field. Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad. I know it says Lord, I call him Lad. So, he is cool because with him I can tribute another zombie monster I control, or himself, to then take control of target and take control of one face-up monster my opponent controls. And that's permanently, but it cannot attack the turn or activate its effects this turn, which is fair. Now, what's really cool about this is it also cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, which has saved my Tushy so many times. And then this counts as Eldritch the Golden Lord while it's face up in the field or in the graveyard, which is pretty cool. No, just face up in the field. Now, what I like to do with Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad is I will oftentimes summon him after pulling off another combo with a different vampire monster that I'll tell you about in a little bit. Now, well, actually I'll tell you about it right now. So, oftentimes what I'll do with Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad, Vampire Fascinator can special summon one monster from my opponent's graveyard when she is summoned. And then she can sacrifice herself or another vampire monster to take control of one monster my opponent controls for one turn. The idea is to use that to then go into my Exceeds vampire monsters. But what I will oftentimes do is I will use this to not only go into my Exceeds vampires, but I'll also so I'll use this, go into my Exceeds vampire, right? The Exceeds vampire I normally will go into is Dhampir Vampire Sheridan. The reason being is because I'll use this to get rid of one powerful monster on their field by taking control of it. Then I'll use this to then target and remove another monster from their side of the field by sending it to the graveyard and not destroying it. Hold on, Courage. I know you want to get out. Here you go. Oh. And then after I get rid of those two monsters with these two cards, I'll then have Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad get rid of the third monster with his effect, and then we'll just go in for the kill with attacking. Dompier Vampire Saradon I only have in this deck because he can target and send cards to the graveyard from my opponent's side of the field, which bypasses destruction protection, which is really nice. The zombie vampire is great for milling your deck and getting bodies on the field. It also cannot be cannot be targeted by the effects of special summoned monsters except those special summoned from the graveyard. So that's also really nice. So keep in mind, even if you use all the materials for this card, it's still a 3000 attack beat stick that carries the name Vampire that can't be targeted by special summoned monsters unless they were special summoned from the graveyard. So, very, very nice. Now, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Now, I know what you might be wondering. Oh, Revan One Lord, why is it that you have a machine monster in your zombie deck and it's a rank 10? Well, you see, what I do is I use my Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad and my Eldritch the Golden Lord to then go into Gustav Max. When I do, I can attack with Gustav Max and deal 2000 damage with his effect, usually allow me to go for game, because after attacking with both Eldritch the Mad Golden Lad, well, no, after dealing my damage with those two, I can still go into him and do 2000 damage just because, even if I don't attack. A better way to explain that actually is I'll use the Mad Golden Lad and Eldritch the Golden Lord to attack for something around 7000 damage. Then I will use them to go into Gustav Max during my main phase 2 and finish off the duel with that extra 2000 damage. That's the general idea, and if you are an Eldritch player, you most likely know about this combination. And if you did not know about this combination as an Eldritch player, you're welcome. Now you know. Number C9, Chaos Dyson Sphere. This requires 3 level 10 monsters, which I happen to have because Eldritch, but I also happen to have because I have Unizombie, so I can make any level 7, 6, or 8 into a level 10 eventually. Plus I have one level 9 right here, 2 level 9s, which are pretty cool, so just one turn and it'll be level 10. Now, with this card, it is an absolute unit. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can attach that monster to this card as a face-up Exceeds material. Now, that's not once per turn. So that means that any monster that battles this card at the very start gets absorbed right off the bat. Once per turn, you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Exceeds material that attached to this card. Sorry for whistling, I didn't mean to whistle. That just means you can just dish a lot of damage out with this bad boy. Now, if this card has number 9, Dyson Sphere, which I don't carry in this deck, but if it had it as a material, it also gains the effect that you can detach any number of Exceeds materials from this card and inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each card. Now, I would assume it's only a rarity of rare because it requires 3 level 10 monsters to go into, but Eldritch can easily achieve summoning this. Number 35, Ravenous Tarantula, I have in this deck because it pairs ultimately with number 20, Utopic Dark Infinity. Now, here's the combination. So you use 2 level 10 monsters, basically Eldritch, to go into Ravenous Tarantula. No, you go into Utopic Dark Infinity first. The reason why is because with Dark Infinity, it's a great monster to add to a zombie deck because it can revive any monster it destroys by battle at the end of the battle phase, which is nice. But on top of that, So anyways, sorry, I was reading something. So, with the effect of destroying the monster by battle and special summoning it, it's not if it destroys a monster by battle, it's just if a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. So that's pretty nice. Keep that in mind. Now, the better part of this effect that I use is that once per turn you can target one other face-up special summoned monster you control and gain life points equal to its original attack. And do you know what special summoned monster that's going to be? Not one that has almost 4,000 attack points, so that every turn I'm basically getting half my life points back every turn. Really, really glorious. Now, the thing is, as you increase your life points every turn with this, you will also be increasing your attack with Ravenous Tarantula, because with Ravenous Tarantula, all monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. And with Ravenous Tarantula, you can, while it has material, you can while it has material, each time your opponent special summons a monster, you can deal 600 damage to them. But what's even cooler is that once per turn, you can detach one Exceeds material from this card to destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card's attack, which is absolutely horrifying when you think about that Utopic Dark Infinity combo. Vampire Sucker is excellent because she allows me to add to special summon one monster from my opponent's graveyard to their field. It becomes a zombie, and then I get to draw one card. Now, the more impressive thing is that while Vampire Sucker is on the field, I can use my opponent's zombie monsters as tributes for tribute summoning my zombie monster, which is really, really good. And with Zombie World, I don't have to wait to special summon a monster from the graveyard to do that. Then her effect also kicks off if one of your monsters gets special summoned from the graveyard as well. So, very cool on that. Now, Vampire Sucker is a nice card, all in all, overall. Definitely worth playing in a zombie deck. Also, fun fact, I was testing out a tactic one time of using Vampire Sucker along with Fenrir, the wolf from the Fury in the Deep pack. This guy right here. So, if he destroys a monster by battle, your opponent cannot draw a card for their draw phase next turn. And all you do is destroy a monster by battle with this, and then special summon that same weak monster with this. And then you just make an infinite loop. And you dish damage with the rest of your monsters, but you make sure that this one always destroys that weak one every turn, so that your opponent can't draw more cards unless they have searches on the field. Avenged Savior I've gone over very thoroughly throughout this whole little tidbit, but I'll go over it one more time just because. It only requires 2 zombie monsters, so very easy to go into, always available. It does become Vendread Slayer while on the field, but that's only important if you're doing a more Vendread deck. This is more Vampire and Eldritch than Vendread. There's only Vendread card in here anyways. So, you can target one Vendread card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Now, the way I use that effect with no other Vendread cards is for the only other copy of a Vendread Savior. See, with these 2 copies of a Vendread Savior, I only run 2 copies of him because he can endlessly add himself back to the extra deck. So if something ever happens to one, I can get the other one out and add the first one back to the extra deck. And because he's a searcher, he's just invaluable, and a searcher when battling at that. So he has those super unique interactions with zombie cards. Now, some targets I like to send to the graveyard during battle and why are as follows. I will oftentimes send Glow Up Bloom during battle because adding Vampire Fraulein to my hand if I don't have Zombie World is great because then the next attack I'll be able to summon her and then increase the attack and defense of my zombie monsters namely Avenged Savior, so that I can get some higher kills going. Um, then I also send Glow Up Bloom because during the battle phase, if your opponent is attacking Avenged Savior and you have Zombie World and you send Glow Up Bloom, then what is so cool is you can then special summon any level 5 or higher zombie from your deck during that battle right there. Another one I will oftentimes send is Mizuki to special summon from the graveyard. I'll send Necroworld Banshee to get Zombie World. I'll send Devouring Sarcophagus during mid-battle if I know I'm going to lose, so that I lose, but quite literally take the monster with me. I'll oftentimes send Eldritch the Golden Lord, just because he's a level 10, so that means that my opponent's monster will lose 2,000 attack, which is really good. And because Eldritch is prime in the graveyard, he can do a lot from the graveyard. Sometimes if I know I'm going to lose, but I don't want to die, I don't want to lose that monster, I'll send Algol Mazera so that my monster Avenged Savior will be fine, but I'll just lose a little life points, and then I'll also get an extra monster in the field. Sometimes I'll send Doom King because he's a level 8, so that means that's 1,600 that my opponent will be losing for that battle, and Doom King can special summon himself next turn if there's a field spell on the field. Sometimes I will send Chain Shi just because she's an excellent target for banishing to then get Algol on the field to then start my chain going. And those other monsters I'll normally send from the graveyard. Send to the graveyard. I went over Vampire Fascinator already, but one more time just in case, just for good measure. If you know, you know. She can take control of one of my opponent's face-up monsters for one turn, and she can also special summon one of my opponent's monsters from their graveyard when she hits the field for the first time as a link monster. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all I use her for. And I've already explained the combos, so my video is almost over. It's got 3 minutes left before the timer stops recording. So, Yuki Onna, the Icicle Mayakashi. Well, I probably gotta change that out, because that was in there for Fenrir. But that's okay. I have her in here because she's just a really good zombie to have. As far as her abilities, if she is special summoned, I can target one effect monster my opponent controls, permanently negate its effects, and as a quick effect, I can banish this card from my graveyard to special summon one of my zombie synchro monsters that is banished or in my graveyard, which is an excellent target for Red-Eyed Zombie Necro Dragon, which I don't have, or Red-Eyed Zombie Dragon Lord, which I can't use during this event. Last 2 cards, Unchained Abomination, is here because it is a Link 4, but it's got 3,000 attack, so it's okay. I can destroy up to 3 cards per turn, and if I used IP Masquerena, it would also be immune to destruction effects itself, but I don't really have to use that since it'll be a zombie most likely, so it'll have protection anyways. And then lastly, we have Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi, an absolute unit. It's only 2,900 attack, but it also negates any effects of my opponent's banished monsters, so Thunder Dragons say goodnight, you know. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard except during the damage step, I can target one other face-up monster on the field to change its attack to 0 and negate its effects if I change its attack to 0. And that's just Yuki Onna. So, those are my cards from my deck list for this event. This is also very close to how I normally run this deck, but I'll normally have like a handful of cards changed out. So, I really, really hope that I can like eventually make like more professional Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel videos, because I don't do this professionally. I just started, so definitely like and subscribe if you like what I did here, and definitely give some pointers in the comments on like what you guys would like to see me do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And Also, don't forget to like be safe out there and stay positive because positive energy comes back to you. And be happy, guys. Yeah.